The Sheliak fleet was annihilated, obliterated, reduced to free-floating atoms drifting in the void. With each passing day, the Draconis Empire tightened its grip on the galaxy, conquering Sheliak worlds with merciless efficiency. The once proud warrior race found itself on the precipice of extinction, their forces scattered and their spirits broken. In a last desperate gamble, High Commander Pollux proposed a radical plan to the Alliance leadership: forge an alliance with the newly discovered humans. Many Sheliaks scoffed at the idea of partnering with such a primitive species, but Pollux saw potential in the humans' unpredictable tactics and rapidly advancing technology. With time running out and options dwindling, the Alliance reluctantly agreed to reach out to the newcomers. Noah Skora, a former mercenary turned corporate diplomatist, was tasked with representing humanity in the negotiations. As he stepped onto the neutral space station Nexus Prime, he couldn't shake the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders. The future of the galaxy hinged on his ability to navigate the tense talks with the Sheliak delegation. Pollux wasted no time emphasizing the dire state of the war. The Draconis Empire grew stronger by the day, and without human aid, the Sheliak Alliance faced certain doom. Skora listened intently, his mind racing with calculations of profit and potential. An alliance could open new frontiers for human expansion and line corporate coffers with untold riches, but it would also drag humanity into a war they might not be ready for. As the negotiations stretched on, reports of another crushing Sheliak defeat at Gama'at cast a pall over the proceedings. The once mighty Sheliak war fleet lay in ruins, reduced to a mere shadow of its former glory. With time running out and desperation mounting, the Alliance leadership gathered for an emergency summit to decide the future of their species, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The vote to ally with humans would be their last hope for survival against the relentless Draconis onslaught. As the galaxy held its breath, Skora and Pollux worked tirelessly to hammer out the details of an accord. But trust was a rare commodity in these troubled times, and both sides knew that any alliance forged in the crucible of war could just as easily shatter under the strain. The fate of billions hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. As the ink dried on the historic accord, a palpable sense of cautious optimism settled over Nexus Prime. Skora and Pollux, the architects of this unlikely alliance, stood side by side, their faces etched with unwavering determination. They knew the real work was just beginning. News of the human Sheliak pact spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of hope among the downtrodden races of the galaxy. In the halls of Draconis power, however, the reaction was one of scorn and fury. Emperor Valkos seethed at this affront to Draconis supremacy, vowing to crush the upstart alliance and grind their worlds to dust. The first test of the new alliance came sooner than expected. Major Alistair Thorne, a battle-hardened human mercenary, found himself thrust into the heart of the action as he and his Sigma squad were integrated into the Sheliak Special Forces. Their mission: sabotage a critical Draconis supply depot deep behind enemy lines. Thorne eyed his new allies warily, his gaze settling on the severe features of Lieutenant Katash, his Sheliak counterpart. The two soldiers sized each other up, a tense silence stretching between them. "Listen up," Thorne growled, his voice low and gravelly. "I don't care what color your blood is. Out there, we're all the same. We watch each other's backs, or we die. Understood?" Katash's eyes narrowed, his mandibles twitching. For a moment, it seemed he might challenge Thorne's authority. Then slowly, he nodded. "Understood, Major. We fight as one." As Sigma Squad and their Sheliak comrades slipped into the shadows of the depot, they moved with practiced precision. Thorne directed his team with curt hand signals, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. They planted their charges with ruthless efficiency, the countdown ticking away like a metronome of doom. All hell broke loose as the depot's shields fell, alarms blaring and Draconis soldiers pouring out like angry hornets. Thorne and Katash fought back to back, their weapons spitting fire, an unspoken trust forged in the heat of battle. Despite the challenges, they held the line until the Sheliak strike force arrived, a tide of vengeful warriors crashing down upon the defenders. In the aftermath of the successful raid, as the flames of the depot lit the night sky, Thorn and Katash clasped forearms, a gesture of respect and camaraderie. It was a small victory in the grand scheme of things, but it was a start. Yet even as the Alliance savored its triumph, dark currents swirled beneath the surface. In the shadowed corridors of Sheliak Command, General Krogax seethed with resentment, his pride chafing at the thought of relying on the humans. And in the glittering boardrooms of human corporations, Eliza Taggart schemed and plotted, her eyes glinting with avarice as she contemplated the riches to be won. As more human ships poured into Sheliak space, dripping with weapons and filled with eager soldiers, the unease grew. Brawls erupted in the corridors of Sheliak battlecruisers, human marines and Sheliak warriors trading blows over perceived slights and ancient grudges. In the command centers, human strategists argued fiercely with Sheliak generals, their differing philosophies clashing like tectonic plates. Yet even amidst the turmoil, the Alliance pushed forward. The combined might of human ingenuity and Sheliak ferocity proved a formidable force, striking fear into the hearts of Draconis commanders. Goros, a long-occupied Sheliak colony, fell to the Alliance in a brutal ground campaign, the human marines fighting side by side with Sheliak warriors to reclaim the battered streets. At Zikar-Elat, human infiltrators slipped into the heart of the slave hives, sowing chaos and uprising among the downtrodden masses. The ensuing revolt crippled Draconis supply lines and freed millions from the yoke of oppression. And in the swirling depths of the Nebula of Sorrows, a Sheliak fleet led by human tacticians lured an entire Draconis armada to its doom, the ghostly lights of the nebula reflecting off the shattered hulls of once mighty warships. Yet each victory was bought with blood and sacrifice. Human and Sheliak alike fell in droves, their bodies piling high on the battlefields of a dozen worlds. Trust, so painstakingly built, fractured under the strain of conflicting agendas and ancient animosities. As the Alliance marshaled its forces for a decisive strike against the heart of the Draconis Empire, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. The fate of humanity and all alien species balanced on a razor's edge, and the slightest misstep could spell doom for all. In the hearts of soldiers like Thorn and Katash, a flicker of hope stubbornly refused to die, even as the storm clouds gathered. They had forged a bond in the crucible of war, an understanding that transcended species and culture. Yet as the drums of war beat ever louder, they couldn't help but wonder if it would be enough. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the stars themselves. And in the halls of power, puppeteers danced to the tune of their own ambitions, heedless of the lives they toyed with. The true test of the Alliance was yet to come, and the price of failure would be beyond reckoning. The Alliance's war machine rumbled to life. A behemoth of human and Sheliak might poise to reclaim Zarnos Prime. Operation Spearhead, the fruit of countless strategy sessions and bitter compromises, was about to be unleashed. Major Thorn crouched in the shadows of a ruined building, his eyes locked on the looming silhouette of the Planetary Defense Grid Control Center. Beside him, Lieutenant Katash's mandibles twitched with anticipation. The air thrummed with tension as Sigma Squad and the Sheliak commandos awaited Thorn's signal. "Remember," Thorn whispered, his voice barely audible over the distant rumble of artillery, "we're the tip of the spear. That grid comes down, or the whole invasion fails." Katash nodded, her alien features set in unshakable focus. "We will not fail, Major, for Zarnos." Thorn raised his fist, then dropped it sharply. As one, the strike team surged forward. Alarms blared as they breached the outer defenses. Draconis guards fell in droves, caught off guard by the ferocity of the attack. Thorn and Katash fought as one, covering each other's blind spots, their movements a deadly dance honed by weeks of joint operations. A Draconis energy blast caught Thorn in the shoulder, spinning him around. Before he could fall, Katash was there, hauling him to his feet and returning fire with lethal precision. Moments later, Thorn repaid the debt, tackling Katash out of the path of a plasma grenade. The control room door loomed before them, a final barrier. Thorn planted the breaching charge as Katash laid down suppressing fire. The explosion rocked the corridor, and they plunged into the smoke-filled room beyond. Close quarters combat erupted, a brutal melee of fists, blades, and point-blank gunfire. Thorn found himself back-to-back with Katash, their weapons blazing as they slowly pushed towards the main console. With a final desperate lunge, Katash reached the controls. Her claws flew over the unfamiliar interface, guided by intel painstakingly gathered over months of covert operations. "It's done!" she roared over the din of battle. Thorn allowed himself a grim smile as he watched the massive energy dome surrounding Zarnos Prime flicker and die. In orbit, High Commander Pollux and Admiral Steele didn't hesitate. The combined human Sheliak armada descended upon the planet like a tsunami of vengeance. On the ground, the true test began. Human Marines and Sheliak warriors poured from their dropships, immediately engulfed in the maelstrom of urban warfare. The Draconis fought with the desperation of cornered animals, turning every street and building into a killing ground. Sergeant Rico Velasquez cursed as a hail of energy bolts forced his squad into cover. "We're pinned down!" he shouted into his comm. "Where's our damn air support?" A series of muffled cracks answered his plea. Draconis soldiers toppled from their elevated positions. Precise holes burned through their armor. Velasquez's jaw dropped as a lithe Sheliak materialized beside him, her active camouflage shimmering away. "You called for support, human?" Kina Shadowblade's mandibles clicked in what Velasquez realized was amusement. "I'll be damned," Velasquez grinned. "You Sheliak are full of surprises. Name's Rico." "Kina," she replied, already lining up her next shot. "Now, shall we push forward? I believe you humans have a saying about idle hands." Together they led the charge, Kina's pinpoint accuracy clearing the way for Rico's aggressive assaults. As the battle raged on, their initially wary cooperation blossomed into genuine respect and camaraderie. High above the planet, aboard the human flagship Thermopylae, Eliza Taggart's eyes glittered with avarice as she watched the battle unfold. The Gentarium deposits of Zarnos Prime called to her, promising untold wealth and power. With practiced ease, she composed a tight-beam message to Lord Malvarix, the Draconis overseer. "My lord," she purred, her voice dripping with false sincerity, "perhaps we can come to an arrangement that benefits us both." As the Alliance forces closed in on the capital, poised for the final push, Admiral Steele received an urgent communique. His brow furrowed as he read the message, then turned to High Commander Pollux. "We have a situation," he began, unaware of the storm his next words would unleash. "We have a situation," Admiral Steele began, his face grim as he turned to High Commander Pollux. "Our intelligence suggests a trap awaits us in the capital." Pollux's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Explain." As Steele outlined the new intel, the mood aboard the Thermopylae grew tense. The Alliance's hard-won momentum threatened to unravel in the face of this unexpected complication. "We can't risk a frontal assault," Steele concluded, "not with our forces so depleted." Pollux's compound eyes narrowed. "Then we adapt. We strike from above and below simultaneously." Within hours, a daring plan took shape. As the Thermopylae's main guns engaged the planetary defenses, Major Thorn and Lieutenant Katash prepared for a high-risk infiltration. In the cramped confines of their stealth shuttle, Thorn briefed the combined human Sheliak strike team. "Our objective is simple. Get in, upload the virus, get out. Failure means the entire invasion burns." Katash's claws tightened on her pulse rifle. "We will not fail." The shuttle pierced Zarnos Prime's atmosphere, cloaking systems straining against the heat of re-entry. They touched down in a maintenance tunnel, the team spilling out into the dank darkness. For hours they navigated the labyrinthine passages beneath the Draconis capital. Automated defenses lurked around every corner. A sentry drone's energy blast caught Private Rodriguez in the chest, vaporizing him instantly. Sergeant Chen's scream was cut short as razor wire traps decapitated her. Yet they pushed on, Katash's alien senses proving invaluable in detecting hidden dangers. Thorn marveled at her fluid grace, so different from human movements, yet perfectly suited to their shared purpose. They reached the central hub, a cavernous chamber humming with malevolent energy. As Sheliak commandos secured the perimeter, Thorn jacked the virus into the main console. "Upload complete," he announced. "Let's move." Above, the skies erupted in fire as Steel's battle group unleashed its fury. Draconis anti-air batteries fell silent, leaving the city defenseless against the Alliance's wrath. Pollux watched from the bridge as human dropships disgorged waves of troops into the burning capital. The real test had begun. On the ground, chaos reigned. Sergeant Rico Velasquez found himself pinned down in a shattered plaza, Draconis zealots raining death from every direction. "We need air support," he bellowed into his comm. A shadow fell over him. Rico looked up to see Kina Shadowblade, the Sheliak sniper, materializing beside him. "Perhaps I will suffice," she said, her mandibles twitching in what Rico now recognized as a smile. Together they fought block by block, human grit complementing Sheliak precision. Similar scenes played out across the city as the unlikely allies pushed deeper into Draconis territory. But treachery lurked in the Alliance's ranks. General Krogax, seething with resentment, redirected vital reinforcements into a deadly ambush. Thorn, emerging from the tunnels, realized the trap too late. "Abort! Abort!" he screamed into the comm, watching helplessly as dropships descended into a hail of plasma fire. Without hesitation, Thorn turned to Katash. "We're going in." Her compound eyes gleamed with approval. "Lead the way, Major." Sigma Squad and Katash's commandos plunged into the inferno. They fought with desperate fury, buying time for the trapped soldiers to regroup and counterattack. In orbit, alarms blared on the Thermopylae bridge. "Sir," a sensor officer called out, "we've detected a Draconis command ship breaking atmosphere." Steele's eyes narrowed. "Malvarix," he growled. Pollux didn't hesitate. "All batteries, target that ship." The Thermopylae's main gun spoke, lances of coherent light slicing through Zarnos Prime's turbulent skies. Malvarix's craft shuddered under the barrage, trailing fire as it plummeted earthward. For 7 brutal days the battle raged. The once gleaming capital devolved into a nightmare of urban warfare. Yet slowly, inexorably, the Alliance tightened its grip. Finally, as the 8th dawn broke over a ruined world, silence fell. The last Draconis stronghold had surrendered. Zarnos Prime belonged to the Alliance. In the aftermath, as human and Sheliak soldiers shared uneasy victories, the architects of their triumph gathered. Pollux's mandibles clicked furiously as he demanded justice for Krogax's treachery. Steele urged caution, acutely aware of how fragile their hard-won unity remained. Their debate was cut short by a priority alert. A junior officer, face ashen, approached with a datapad. "Sirs," he stammered, "we've detected a massive energy signature beneath the city. It's some kind of doomsday device." Steele's blood ran cold as he absorbed the implications. He turned to Pollux, seeing his own horror reflected in those alien eyes. "How long do we have?" Pollux asked, his voice unnaturally calm. The officer swallowed hard. "Minutes, maybe less." In that moment, as the specter of annihilation loomed, human and Sheliak stood united by a common, terrible purpose. They had no choice but to act, and act quickly. Swiftly and decisively, Steele locked eyes with Pollux, a wordless understanding passing between them. "Assemble our best," Steele ordered, his voice tight with urgency. "We've got one shot at this." Within minutes, a joint task force materialized on the bridge. Major Thorn and Lieutenant Katash stood at its center, their battle-worn forms a testament to the crucible they'd endured. The remaining members of Sigma Squad flanked them, unshakable focus etched on every face. "We've located the device," Pollux announced, gesturing to a holographic display, "an underground vault beneath the Palace District." Thorn studied the layout, his mind already formulating entry points and choke zones. "Any intel on what we're walking into?" Katash's mandibles clicked softly. "Malvarix's last stand. Expect the worst." The descent into the vault's maw was a plunge into nightmare. Stealth gave way to brutal efficiency as they encountered the first wave of defenses. Killer droids swarmed from hidden alcoves, their metal bodies gleaming in the dim emergency lighting. "Contact!" Thorn bellowed, his rifle spitting death. Katash moved like liquid shadow, her blade finding weak points in the droid's armor with unerring precision. Human and Sheliak fought as one, covering each other's blind spots, their movements a deadly dance honed by shared adversity. A strangled cry pierced the din of battle. Sergeant Chen stumbled, clutching at her throat as a biotoxin trap hissed its lethal payload. Katash's quick thinking saved Chen's life, a Sheliak antidote administered with lightning speed. "Stay alert," Thorn growled. "This place is rigged to kill." They pressed deeper, the air growing thick with tension and the stench of ozone. A tremor shook the passageway, loose rubble raining down on their heads. "Move!" Katash shouted, shoving Thorn forward as a section of ceiling collapsed behind them. When the dust settled, they found themselves cut off from half the squad. Thorn's comm crackled with static, the other's fate unknown. "We push on," he said, meeting Katash's compound eyes. She nodded, her grip tightening on her weapon. The vault's core loomed before them, a cathedral of mad science pulsing with malevolent energy. And there, hunched over a central console, was Malvarix. The Draconis overlord's body was a nightmare of cybernetic enhancement, his wounds sealed by writhing metal. "You're too late," Malvarix rasped, his voice distorted by artificial implants. "Zarnos Prime dies with me." Thorn and Katash moved as one, their attack a blur of synchronized lethality. But Malvarix's defenses held, a shimmering field of nanites deflecting their strikes. A deafening roar filled the chamber as Admiral Steele burst through a side entrance, his face a mask of grim commitment. Without hesitation, he hurled himself at Malvarix, grappling with the cyborg monstrosity. "Pollux!" Steele shouted, his muscles straining. "The device!" High Commander Pollux materialized by the central console, his claws flying over the alien interface. Malvarix howled in rage, redoubling his efforts to break free from Steele's iron grip. "You cannot stop what I've set in motion!" the Draconis shrieked. Steele's eyes met Thorn's for a fleeting moment. "It's been an honor, Major," he said, then wrenched Malvarix towards a crackling electromagnetic crucible. "No!" Thorn lunged forward, but it was too late. A blinding flash seared their retinas. When vision returned, Steele and Malvarix were gone, nothing but ash remaining. Pollux's voice cut through the stunned silence. "It's done. Device neutralized." The cost of victory crashed down upon them. Thorn sagged against a nearby pillar, the weight of command settling heavily on his shoulders. Katash stood motionless, her alien features unreadable. Together they made their way back through the shattered tunnels. Each step was a battle against exhaustion and grief. When they finally emerged into the wan light of dawn, the ruined cityscape spread before them like a graveyard of broken dreams. Thorn surveyed the devastation, his palms sweating from the enormity of what lay ahead. The Alliance had won, but at a staggering price. As the surviving leaders gathered to take stock of their Pyrrhic victory, Thorn felt Katash's presence at his side, a silent pillar of strength. Pollux approached, his movements weary but purposeful. "Major Thorn," he began, his mandibles clicking softly, "we find ourselves at a crossroads." Thorn met the Sheliak's gaze, sensing the weight of unspoken words. Whatever came next, he knew with bone-deep certainty that the true test of the Alliance was only just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.